right? So we're standing down for you. So for you to pick his side, that became the problem. Real talk, he tried to fire you at the beginning of the season. They're looking for these sponsors, so they're trying to...
After 2 weeks of endless speculation, Gilbert Arenas finally spoke on the question everyone wanted answered. He appeared alongside Carmelo Anthony, and during their conversation, Melo's co-host brought up the exact question I've been waiting to hear for the past 3 weeks.
It weighs or got fired? That's different.
They got fired.
So now it's confirmed. Gilbert Arenas was personally the one who made the decision to let them go. But in reality, that may have been the smallest surprise from his appearance on Carmelo Anthony's podcast, because he went much deeper into what really happened. He spoke about an alleged takeover attempt that barely anyone covered, a strategy that reportedly involved Skip Bayless, and why Rashad McCants seemingly missed out on a pay increase he never even realized was on the table. Honestly, with every new detail that comes out, it feels like another blow for Rashad. And even that wasn't the biggest revelation. According to Gilbert, everything we watched unfold throughout the spring was actually part of a test he had been conducting on his own team the entire time. So stay with me, because once you hear Gilbert's explanation, the way you look at the last 3 months of this story could completely change. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. What's going on, everyone? Before we get into the latest updates, let's quickly catch everyone up who's just now hearing about this situation. Gilbert partnered with Underdog to launch what eventually grew into one of the biggest basketball shows on YouTube. The partnership originally began in 2023, with both sides entering the deal as equal 50-50 partners. Then earlier this spring, Gilbert decided to leave while keeping ownership of the show's name. Not long afterward, on July 6th, Underdog shut down all of its shows and officially stepped away from the content business entirely. Everybody, I've got some bad news. We've been canceled. If you're looking for the complete timeline of everything that happened, I'll have the full breakdown along with the previous 2 videos covering this story linked on the end screen. But up until this week, one important piece of the story was still missing: Gilbert Arenas' perspective. So, let's begin with the detail that completely changes how many people have viewed this entire situation. For the past couple of months, most of us, myself included, looked at this as Gilbert Arenas versus Underdog. But in Gilbert's account is accurate. We may have been focusing on the wrong battle all along. Here's Gilbert explaining who he believes the real conflict was actually with.
Underdog, me and Underdog, we good. Those are beautiful people. They just hired a dude who was just a weed. This was an Underdog.
Oh.
This was that dude.
Oh, that they bought in.
The dude that just came in, so he's trying to take over.
According to Gilbert, everything eventually traced back to one individual, a newly hired executive who had recently joined Underdog. Gil never mentions this person's name, and I'm not going to guess who it might be either. The truth is, most of us probably wouldn't even recognize the name if we heard it. But pay close attention to the point in the timeline when Gilbert says this executive entered the picture, because it lines up directly with an important detail I mentioned in my previous video. Watch carefully as Gilbert walks through the timeline and explains exactly when the chain of events first began.
When the case happened, we got a new dude that was responsible for what was going on. And it was basically, my contract was coming up. We're gonna negotiate while you on the floor, right? So it was basically like just...
Pay close attention to the timeline Gilbert is laying out here. In my previous video, I played a clip from Rashad McCants' appearance on Lou Williams' podcast, where Rashad shared his belief that Gilbert's federal indictment was the moment everything became more complicated. At the time, I made it clear that this was only Rashad's personal opinion and not something that had been independently verified through reporting. Now, Gilbert Arenas has described a timeline that connects those same events himself. The indictment took place in July 2025. Around that same period, a new executive reportedly joined the company. Gilbert's contract was also nearing its expiration, and according to Gilbert, that's when the pressure started to build. that still doesn't establish a direct cause and effect relationship in any legal or factual sense. However, the central figure in this story is now describing the sequence of events in a way that closely mirrors the timeline Rashad previously suggested. At the very least, Rashad's version of the timeline appears to have been more accurate than many people originally believed. So what was this alleged takeover plan supposed to involve? Look at me, I'm the captain now. Gilbert addressed that as well, and this is the most detailed explanation he's given so far regarding Skip Bayless's alleged role in the situation. The next clip outlines the entire reported plan, so listen carefully, especially to the numbers, because they'll become very important in just a moment.
Only there 3. One was gonna be our show, and that was to replace him because they both contrarian. They said Skip does it better, he don't cuss, he don't. So they're looking for these sponsors, so they're trying to fire you. Me and Joe standing on 10 toes. Nah.
They were reportedly being paid for 4 filming days, despite only recording 3 each week. According to Gilbert, that extra day was being reserved for Skip Bayless, who he claims was intended to be a sponsor-friendly addition. Gilbert says Skip originally joined for the football show without any issues, but a new executive allegedly tried to use that relationship for a different purpose. We still haven't heard Skip's side, but Gilbert's explanation adds context to that May 20 episode when Skip was sitting in Gilbert's chair. Interestingly, Rashad McCants described the same situation in a very similar way, despite later ending up on the opposite side of the dispute. Gilbert also claims the executive later reduced the show from 4 days to 2, even though they had previously discussed expanding to 5 days a week, setting the stage for the next phase of the conflict.
It's like, yeah, you know, this is part of negotiation.
Gil's response is, you don't want to negotiate with a dude like me.
And I was like, you don't want to negotiate with a dude like me. I'm an athlete, this is what I do. I like this type of back and forth.
Then Gilbert shares something that really shows how personal he believes this entire situation became. From the outside looking in, it appeared as though Gilbert Arenas was about to lose the very show he helped build. But according to Gilbert, rather than accepting that outcome, he chose to bypass the executive and take his concerns directly to the people above him. And what he says next may be the one statement that completely changes the way you view everything that followed.
You negotiate with it. I go straight to them, hey, listen, when I end, I have the rights to Gils Arena, so what you wanna do? Well, we're gonna go with you. And I said, hey, just keep negotiating with him. I need to see who he really is. I wanna see who the cast is when they think I'm out. But I just sat back with all the raises in my pocket.
Pay close attention to what Gilbert just revealed. According to his account, the outcome had already been settled. He says Underdog's leadership had already decided to support him, but he intentionally allowed the conflict to continue unfolding. Gilbert claims he withheld raises that had already been approved for members of his own cast, then sat back and watched to see who would remain loyal, while the internet believed his time with the show was coming to an end. As Gilbert put it, when everybody thinks you're out, that's when you really find out who people are. Now think back to what he said in that first video. I'm not sure they like me anymore. At the time, it sounded like someone sincerely questioning where he stood with the people around him. But based on Gilbert's explanation now, he wasn't simply wondering how people felt about him. He says he was observing how everyone responded under pressure. And over the last 2 videos, I've said that I believe Gilbert ultimately came out ahead in this entire situation. Of course, when someone ends up on the winning side, it's easy to look back and say everything unfolded exactly as planned. At the end of the day, the person who comes out on top is often the one who gets to tell the story from their own point of view. And that brings us to Rashad McCants. Gilbert goes on to explain how he believes the executive gradually influenced Rashad, and the sequence he describes sounds remarkably deliberate. It started with, hey Rashad, would you be interested in joining the football show on Fridays? Then, according to Gilbert, the conversation evolved into, what if Skip joined you on the show? Before long, there was a Friday episode featuring Skip Bayless, and Rashad appeared to become increasingly confident about the direction everything was heading.
And he's like, oh man, me and Skip,
In Gil's words,
they did that to him.
and then McCants starts thanking the man on air.
First and foremost, I want to say shout out to Underdog. I had to wear what I'm so proud to be wearing, giving us the opportunity to be able to show and prove as the #1 sports show on the internet. I just want to be able to.
He's sucking.
3 separate public shout-outs, all aimed at the very executive Gilbert claims was working behind the scenes in an effort to push him out.
He tried to fire you at the beginning of the season. They're looking for these sponsors, so they're
According to Gilbert, those decisions were damaging the show and slowly steering it in the wrong direction.
Joe's standing on 10 toes. Nah, we good. We're good with our roster. We're #1 with our roster.
And I think this next moment might be the coldest detail in the entire story. Do you remember when Gilbert Arenas responded to Rashad McCants after it appeared that Rashad was trying to get on Underdog's good side?
I gave you the opportunity.
Oh, we already know where he's going.
Oh my God, Fredo! Damn it! You're not on my side. You're not with us. You was one of my best soldiers. Oh, damn it!
Well, take a look at this, because according to Gilbert, what happened next was actually a loyalty test that he says he put Rashad McCants through. And based on the way Gilbert describes it, this may be one of the most uncomfortable moments in the entire story.
Cemetery. I got his raise right in the pocket. Now I got to give it to.
According to Gilbert Arenas, he had already arranged a raise for Rashad McCants, but Rashad never knew the offer had even been approved. Gilbert says that was done intentionally because he wanted to see how people would respond when they had no idea what had already been put in place behind the scenes. According to Gilbert, Rashad ultimately chose to align himself with the executive instead. As a result, Gilbert says the raise was eventually given to someone else. Then Carmelo Anthony asked the question that probably provides the clearest insight yet into where Gilbert and Rashad's relationship stands today.
How could you do that, though? Like, y'all haven't spoken since?
Nah.
To be fair to Rashad, Gilbert is very clear about this point. He says that if Underdog had approached Rashad directly with his own show and a separate deal, he would have understood Rashad choosing to take that opportunity.
Underdog giving him a better position and say an Underdog and Jeremy like, yo, we want you as a star.
I know how it
Cool.
goes.
Like,
Yeah.
According to Gilbert, the issue was never that Rashad wanted to explore new opportunities. Gilbert says the real problem was that Rashad knew there was an ongoing dispute behind the scenes, yet, from Gilbert's point of view, continued to side with the opposing camp.
problem. Me and Joe, he's trying to fire us. He tried to fire you. We beefing because of you, technically, because we not letting what was going down go down. And this was player podcast, right? So we're standing down for you. So for you to pick his side, that became a
Gilbert says he and Josiah Johnson were fighting to keep the show centered on former players, believing they were protecting Rashad McCants as much as themselves. Rashad, however, says he wasn't aware of the behind-the-scenes conflict and simply viewed the opportunity as a second chance after what he called 10 years in purgatory. In the end, he lost both the opportunity and his relationship with Gilbert. Meanwhile, Gilbert appears to have landed in a stronger position, with Front Office Sports reporting that he's taking his show to Playmaker for 5 weekly episodes. Josiah Johnson is also expected to join him, while Awful Announcing reported that Nick Young confirmed he'll be part of the new project as well.
Hiring, right? Cause ain't no jobs opportunity over here. They said, man, everybody go.
Now he finally does. And honestly, the structure of this new agreement may be the most interesting part of the entire story. Playmaker's reported role will primarily focus on sales and distribution, while Gilbert will produce the show himself from Los Angeles. Back in 2023, Gilbert said he gave up half of his company because, at the time, he didn't fully understand everything that went into building and running a successful show. Fast forward to 2026, and he's now reportedly in a position to manage the entire production himself while his media partner concentrates on advertising sales and distribution. In many ways, that's the exact direction Gilbert has said he was trying to move toward from the very beginning.
I did 50-50 ownerships to get the foundation because I had no idea what it took to run shows. So now I understand how to run shows. I don't need to do 50-50s no more. That's it. It's called growth.
The man has genuinely taken things to another level. Now, remember what I've been saying throughout this entire saga. Underdog gets to keep Gilbert Arenas' original YouTube channel, but honestly, I expect that channel to have a difficult time if Gilbert is no longer the face of it. It doesn't matter how many subscribers a channel has. If Gilbert Arenas isn't the one appearing on a channel built around Gilbert Arenas, keeping that same audience engaged is going to be a real challenge. Since my last video, Gilbert's new YouTube channel has already surpassed 330,000 subscribers. That's an impressive start, especially considering he's rebuilding after walking away from a platform that generated hundreds of millions of views. It's still a rebuilding process, but it's one that has started with significant momentum. According to Gilbert, he had been preparing for this transition since January. He says he was recruiting people, bringing back members of the former production team, and even planning an August launch so he could compete directly with the old show by taking over its time slot. Then, Underdog shut down its entire content division, leaving Gilbert with nothing left to compete against. But I think the bigger takeaway is who Gilbert ultimately chose to partner with. The original version of the business was backed by a sports betting company. Over time, we've seen several gambling companies scale back their media investments, including DraftKings, FanDuel, ESPN Bet, and eventually Underdog. This time, Gilbert's partnership is with a media company. In my last video, I mentioned that I believed more creators would eventually begin moving in that direction. If this new model works the way Gilbert expects, he may once again be ahead of the curve. There's still one major chapter of this story that hasn't unfolded yet, and that's September. That's when the remaining Underdog contracts involving members of the former cast are reportedly expected to expire. And remember, Gilbert has said that he had to remain relatively quiet throughout much of this entire process. Think back to what he said during his appearance on Stephen A. Smith's podcast.
Are still under contract until September. I can't talk to them and I can't recruit them. I can't poach.
According to Gilbert, September is when he'll reconnect with everyone, revealing who returns, who doesn't, and who, in his view, passed the loyalty test. August marks the relaunch, but September could become the real reunion, and I'll be covering it all. I've said from the beginning that I respect athletes who understand the business side of sports, and Gilbert has consistently shown that mindset. Based on his version of events, he already had the rights, the leverage, and leadership support before the public fallout reached its peak. The show's name is still his. The studio remains his. Josiah Johnson is expected to reunite with him. Playmaker is backing the new project, and August is shaping up to be a major month. When Gilbert partnered with Underdog in 2023, the company was reportedly valued at around $485 million. After its latest funding round, that figure reportedly climbed to roughly $1.23 billion. While that doesn't prove Gils Arena alone drove the growth, it does highlight how important the company's content strategy appeared to be during that period. After Underdog exited the content business, Gilbert was already preparing for his next move. He also says the experience showed him who would stand by his side when things got difficult. Nick Young has joined Gilbert's new project. Rashad McCants' future remains uncertain, and the chemistry that made Gils Arena successful is clearly changed. Rebuilding the show is one challenge. Recreating that chemistry may be an even bigger one. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about everything that's happened? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, check out my videos on LeBron James and the Miami Heat or ESPN's latest departures. They'll both be waiting for you on the end screen. I'm your boy Mike, and I'll catch you in the next upload.